Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Talking Snooker with Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf. Once again, talking about the game we all love.
Yes, hello everybody. Feels like a quieter week in the snooker world, but there's been some red hot action in Ponsford, Sheffield. We got to talk about.
Yeah, I like that. Fons Porge, of course, as I prefer to call that venue, and there has been lots of action for you. Quite right. We talked about a little bit of it when we were last on air, but there's been plenty more. And well, let's get on with it, of course, and say that later on we will have plenty on the Xi'an Grand Prix, won't we? Which is the next tournament in terms of main stages getting underway. But yeah, those international championship qualifiers down in Sheffield, and well, we were on the air, weren't we, for that Neil Robertson moment? What a great landmark, a thousandth career century. I continue to try and get my head around it. Not always to great, not always to great effect in the last few days. Is it really 1,000? It might mean 100. No, it's definitely 1,000. Imagine doing that 1,000 times. Wow! Did it in his 6-1 win over Dick May. And an early plug, Phil. You can hear the reaction of Robertson to that achievement on my radio snooker service. He calls it a wonderful milestone and explains why he was never going to wait because it's all about frame rates, mate. Neil is. I mean that word nerd is sometimes a bit loaded. I don't mind being called a nerd at all, for the record. And I see it as mostly a positive thing. It means you know lots of stuff, nitty gritty of the sport. And there's sometimes no better way of saying it. Neil really gets the game. There's a few more like him as well, but he loves the stats. He saw that table. I remember it well as well, comparing Judd Trump, John Higgins, and Ronnie O'Sullivan. He wanted to make sure he got under 10, so he was saying no delay. And the way I thought about it, Phil, was it's quite right. There's no delay. I don't want to get into that thing. I won't do it because I want to do it here and there. That's feels a bit fabricated for me. I think when you're ready to do it, it wasn't only one man there. Do it. And that's how he explained to me on Radio Snooker. And I thought it was classic Neil.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hadn't seen that table of frame rates, but it's right though. I mean, it does. It is very impressive that he did it in fewer frames. And yeah, I mean, when you're holding it too, if you're going to get that in your mind, I suppose his next match is sort of an opening round in Xi'an next week against Leon Crowley, which the best will of the world is not going to be like packed house, is it? So is it better to do it there? And then do you think, oh, shall I save it until I get to a final or something? You just don't want these things in your head. Just get it done. It's still an amazing achievement, and yeah, it was a little bit of a shame. Um, I think I think not just like where it was and how it happened, but like World Snooker could have done what you did, like give him a call and do a piece on him. I don't think they did anything really. So it was a good job you were on the ball doing those great chats with him, because it went under the radar otherwise. But yeah, wherever it happened, amazing achievement. And yeah, I think Selby is not too far behind, but then it's a big jump to the next one. So we've had a bit of a burst of these 1,000 frames. It's 1,000 centuries. Seems quite recently with Trump and Higgins, but maybe not so many more for a while.
I think I might have seen 911. Don't quote me on that, but that rings a sort of bell for doing really. Yeah, you're right. He's not a million miles away. And yeah, he's joke about Neil. He'll tell you about the stuff he does, but when you are doing stuff, you don't really mind being told because he is actually doing it type thing. A lot of people that I tell you about stuff, they think "No, you're not actually doing that much, Colonel." There, but when Neil's sort of the opposite. He's sort of delivering the words and the goods together type thing, and
Mm.
yeah, he's we have had a bit of correspondence later on that about the timing of that actually. One also thing Neil said to me on Radio Snooker, which was part of the stuff I put out on air, which I really liked, was him saying that is sort of sport. That is the way it goes. It did make me think of one thing, but there is a big caveat. When Tony McCoy, the great jump jockey, AP McCoy, got to, I think it was 4,000 winners. He did it in a very low key midweek race meeting at Toaster. And there was something really memorable about it. It said a lot about British and UK racing, I suppose, British and Irish racing. But the difference was you could go there. You still
Mm.
could go and see it. And I suppose that's the one thing. Listen, that's the way snooker's organised. We have a big event. Well, it's not big, but it's long. The Championship League goes. No one can go to that. So, you know, it does feel a bit pandemic-y sometimes, but snooker's organised like that. We have some events in this sport where people don't see whether we should or not. That's open to debate, but that does happen, and it just happened. It fell to that, but it wasn't the first, as I say, and he did it, and it's just brilliant and a wonderful milestone. Is a great way for Neil to describe it. And we should move on, Phil, because what a win for Ken Doherty. He's still got it at 56, hasn't he, Ken, beating Stan Moody. 6'5", still capable of shocking players decades younger than him. That was brilliant. And, it looked like a late result coming through that day. So obviously a late finish. Liu Wenwei beat Luca Purcell 6-4. That's a cracking win for the 21-year-old. I was having a look back at his results and had to refresh my memory. Of course, he did so well at the Championship League, got through a group with Jordan Brown and Jackson Page in. So that was quite an effort. Luca's still not where you think he should be, but of course we know about the health issues he has, so that has to be a factor. John Higgins beat Liam Pullen 6-5. Well, Pullen beat Higgins, didn't he, in Xi'an qualifying, and nearly beat him again, but John got over the line. Plenty of big winners that day, last Tuesday, among them Mark Selby, Mark Williams, and Kyron Wilson. But yeah, I saw Ken in Cheltenham, and he was on great form, telling us all great stories, Phil, and he's a great entertainer, but good for him to remind us all he can still play snooker very well.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think he's only sort of a few years older than sort of the Class 92 guys. And he still got it on his day. He still picks up a few results over a season. Um, I don't know. I've not heard anything from Stan since that. I don't know if he's in great form, hasn't he? Maybe he took the old fellow a bit lightly there, maybe. But you can't do that with the former world champ. So yeah, great win there. A lot of big guns flying around in this one. Not too many get held over at the National Championship. But another result that stood out to me, I watched a bit of it. Ben Mertens beating Matt Selt 6-3. He's had some good wins so far, Mertens, but he started that match with 132, 54, 89. Then Selt made 94, then Mertens made 124.
Wow.
So blistering start to that match. It slowed down a bit after that. But yeah, excellent. He's really improving and been quite impressed with what I've seen from him so far. And there were a couple. I watched a bit of that Luca game late on, and then Martin O'Donnell beat Zhu Yichen comfortably later than that into the night. Finished really late, as you would expect with a Martin O'Donnell 6-5 game, really. But yeah, there weren't too many huge shocks, really. Just a couple of memorable games that I noted. As now it's Liam Highfield beating Jackson Page 6-5. And I think I'm skipping about chronologically a bit, I'm afraid. But
No.
David Gilbert against Liam Davis, that was 6-5 as well. And that was the only time Gilbert had been ahead. I think Davis had gone one each the whole way through, and Davis was always ahead until Gilbert won the equalised final, then won the final one. So a bit of a painful one. But I suppose the biggest shock was Mitchell Mann 6, Mark Allen 4, which I didn't see much of, but I think someone described to me as grisly. It wasn't a classic, but Man had that good run in the British. But of course, Allen had won the English only a couple of weeks ago. So great result for Mitchell Mann.
Yeah, absolute purple patch for Mitchell. I was getting an echo before, it's annoying me. It's like being one of those old sort of railway tunnels, but it seems to have gone now, that mercifully. So I hope that carries on for me there. His old pair of Sonys here. I'm getting it again, Phil. My goodness. Can you hear it? I hope not.
No.
Oh,
all right.
Okay. Well, I hope the listeners can't. Well, anyway, Phil, as you say, Mitchell Mann, purple patch, brilliant effort. He had a fine run in Cheltenham, and that's continuing for him. And as you mentioned, that Liam Highfield, Jackson Page, also last Wednesday, a pair of former world champions winning through Sean Murphy and Stuart Bingham. Well, on to day 3 then of those qualifiers on Thursday. 147, another one. Wow. I think I saw you say on Twitter that, we could get the record for a season by Christmas at this rate. I did have a funny feeling. I thought, nothing to do with it being 10, really, but there's going to be a cut-off point where there's a quieter time, and I thought that might be it a little bit. But I don't know why. I had a feeling I'll be a few weeks now, but no, 11th. Amazing. 11th in the season. Gary Wilson making that in his 6-3 win again. How do we say Artemis Zhizhins now, by the way?
It's like our team Zhizhins, something like that. I think if you get close, you're okay.
Okay. Well, brilliant effort. 6th for him, by the way. He's a bloody master at making them. He's quite high on that table. And among the players also to win on Thursday, quite a few big names, Ali Carter and Jang Ander among those to claim victories. But yeah, Wilson, and there was some good. I mean, it was one of those we've seen a few almost half routine ones recently. There wasn't quite that. There were some really good pots along the way. So,
Mm.
great effort from Gary. This trend continues. Of course, my sporting life column, that's ancient news now, Phil. I'm on 10 when I wrote that. Well, well, there's no snooker right now, is there? I don't think. So we're all right while we're on the air. But who knows what will happen in Xi'an tomorrow? They're firing them in left, right, and centre. And yeah, we continue to marvel at the excellence.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, I mean that was sort of half joking when I said it could be broken by Christmas, but it generally could.
Yeah,
Only four off. If we keep going at this rate,
yeah.
we could double the record this season, which is baffling. I know some people say it's the pockets, the tables, but I don't know. I don't think we've seen tournaments play like we've seen some events in China where people are like, oh my God, I can't believe how big the pockets are.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some examples of that, but it doesn't feel like that in general. It's just really excellent play. And yeah, like you said about Gary's one there, some really difficult shots that he pulled off towards the end, especially. And Zhizhen's was seemed more pleased about it than Gary was. He was absolutely thrilled at the end for him. I don't know if that's the first one he'd seen up close, and it was the final frame to conclude the match as well, which was nice. So yeah, I can't see any reason why they'll slow down. We wouldn't be surprised if we see some coming up in Xi'an and then the international championship in Nanjing. Why not? People can't stop doing it.
Yeah, absolutely right. And look, I don't know if I've been one of the most critical or not, or I certainly have not thought the pockets have been great on a number of occasions. It's still surprised when I hear people say that they are very tight. They're very tight at some events, but yeah, the suggestion they're very tight across the board is for the birds for me. I mean, the aforementioned Neil Robertson told me that he plays on them. He's got no reason to say otherwise. He's got no leading reason. I've got no leading reason. I think they've been um, far too generous, particularly in China. But I don't think that this season, like you say. I mean, Shanghai maybe would have been. Sounds like I'm picking on China. It's not that. It's just that they have been more generous in Chinese tournaments. It's what we're seeing with our eyes over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Shanghai maybe, but I don't think so. I mean, I was at 2 events live, and sometimes see a bit more nuance there when you see it, in person. And I remember thinking that they weren't particular. Yeah, a few things you see, you think, well, that shouldn't happen. But again, that's more sort of a new cloth or ball sliding in a sort of more natural way. I'm not seeing things that, to me, the one thing with pockets ultimately is balls hitting cushions a long time before pockets. That's really it. I know you get that thing where they're heading towards the jaw and all that, and that's not always great. But to me, if a ball hits a cushion quite a long way before the pocket, I really don't think it should go in. It wouldn't go in on the club table, and I just don't think it should go on a table in professional play. That's my thing. I've not really seen that this season. I don't think that is a factor. I think it's just a freak. They're feeding off each other. That's undoubted. That has to be the case. I said before that and I said it in my column, I said it on air as well. I felt it at tournaments in an individual sense. That I keep mentioning Robertson. This is like the Neil Robertson episode here, Phil. That one when he got the recent one when he got the 147 at the Crucible, whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago. That felt like it was coming. And I remember being there. I think I arrived about a day before that. I thought, yeah, people are getting close. One's coming. But now it's happening in a sort of general sense. It's like everywhere you go. And I think Phil Yates spoke to me on Radio Snooker and said, probably even more than that now, but I think he mentioned there was a dozen examples of at least 12 reds and 12 blacks on top of the
Yeah.
147. So we are getting close run. There's one or two actually I noticed by looking through the scores the last few days, pretty close run things. We are getting those as well. So you just fancy, and I said Dominic Dale did one in commentary on the second red in the English Open. And there are times, there are times gone by when I thought, well, you're laughing, but times gone by I thought, oh, come on, Dominic, that's a bit early. But now I sort of think it's good practice. It just feels like good practice from them. They've got to cover themselves almost, and they're seeing it. Again, Phil Yates making that point that, I mean, Phil said, obviously he can see it, but if you're those guys, they could really see the pattern. We have a fair idea ourselves, but if the Reds are all in a certain place, they split nicely early on, the Black's free, it's on for those guys. And it's as simple as that. And they're looking for it. There are times when they'll be prudent, won't they? If they don't quite get on the red right, they'll go for the blue and pink. That winning the free is more important. But But again, that you feel like most of the time they're not doing that. They're trying to win the frame and get the 147. They're just so good, and it's guys across the tour, isn't it? It's not just those big guns. It's guys that don't win tournaments really, or don't even have that many long runs. They're getting them as well, and that's probably what's changed, isn't it, from sort of 20, 25, 30 years ago. Well, Phil, we're looking forward to the International Championship, aren't we? It's from November the 2nd until the 9th. Lots of big guns will be there. So we've got a question about sort of held over matches to do with that man Robertson later on. But yeah, we're looking forward to it, aren't we? And Phil, the Chinese theme continues because the Xi'an Grand Prix is coming up, starting tomorrow as we record, Tuesday. Final next Monday, and maybe a word from you on that. There's no reason why final should be a Sunday in this sport, should they? We have a few Saturdays as well. That's always been tradition, but I still think it's a great night I call it Sunday night snooker night. I think it's a great night for finals, but not everyone can be like that. Lots of other sport takes place, big sport, big football in midweek, all sorts of big sports played midweek. So Monday night, it might be interesting. Monday lunchtime, of course, for us in the UK.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the reason is for this one being like that. But yeah, why not? Often weekends are so packed, depending what other sports are on.
Mm.
It might distinguish itself a bit from that. Certainly at lunchtime here, to have a final is going to be interesting midweek.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly not opposed to. I don't know if we ever get viewing figures really from the TNT ones, but we'll see. It would be interesting to see how affected it is by that scheduling. But yeah, certainly not. Mix it up. Why not? We've got so many tournaments. It's nice when they stand out for whatever reason. Um, and this for the scheduling does a bit.
Yeah, it's one of those where I was thinking during that, not the first time, or net, and it certainly won't be the last. I could have thought through that point a bit more carefully, actually, because of course people are at work. I do that thing. I do that thing that I often do. Think not that everyone's a journalist, but everyone's got access to the telly like we have naturally throughout
Yeah.
our whole career. Like, oh no, people don't. They have no. They can't just put the telly on. Feel bad now. but
Yeah, I mean, I always say that of the Chinese ones because I usually work sort of early in the morning from home, so it's ideal for me to have on then. But a lot of people are commuting or in offices where you can't just stick the snooker on. So yeah, we need to remember that people have more normal lives.
Indeed, but it is something different. We'll see how it turns out. Sure, it'll be a fine tournament. Loved your line, by the way, of simple observation, but a great one. 6 finals, 12 different finalists. I was thinking, I wonder if we get to 7 and 14. Quite possible, because as you and
Mm.
others are pointing out, there's lots of big names, very big names, that aren't among those 12. So 7 and 14, by no means out the question.
Oh, definitely, it's a possibility. Yeah, I think Trump, Higgins, Williams, Ding. I forget who else now. But yeah, I mean, obviously loads of other players, but just among the big hitters. Um, yeah, could easily get two more finalists that haven't been to finals so far, and it shows uh, how competitive it is. It's really difficult to gain any momentum. As we said, as I said before, Mark Allen wins in Brentwood. In no time at all, he's losing to Mitchell Mann in a qualifier in Ponds Forge, and it's just people aren't getting on runs at all. Kyron winning in Shanghai feels a long while ago now, doesn't it? Because he's lost a few early ones
Mm.
since then. But of course, these guys can spring back into life as quickly as they fell off it before, and there's not too many people. It's not like I look at any of the big guys who aren't winning and think, "Oh God, they're really struggling."
Mm.
Like Judd is having a bit of a dry spell
Mm.
by his standards, but I don't look at him and think, "Oh, he's playing bad. What's wrong with Judd?" He's just losing tight matches to good players. So no one would be surprised if he's winning a trophy again soon or in the final. But yeah, there's plenty of players um, who you would expect to come through, and there's plenty more who you wouldn't be surprised. The coming men like Wu Yizer and Xi Wei. I think they're going to get their hands on a trophy at some time soon. They haven't been finals yet, so yeah, it could easily keep going. I don't know I didn't really look back at old seasons and see how long. I don't know if this is any sort of record or how long it normally would go, where we'd get all different finalists, but it feels like it should not carry on for that much longer. But you wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Yeah, good way of saying it. Well, we got some good matches to look forward to tomorrow as we record Tuesday. And this is the early hours UK time, but we have listeners all over the world, and it might well be later into Tuesday for you. Ricky Walden against Elliot Slesser. They've only had one match outside the Championship League before. and that's a 5-4 win for Walden in the European Masters in 2022. Well, defending champion Kyron Wilson has got Harris Tahir. Of course, it was Kyron that sparked that great run of his and a great season by winning this last year, beating Judd Trump in the final 10-8. And I should say this is your line. You texted me saying, I wonder whether this could be the same for Zhao Xintong. So we'll wait and see. That might spark that. We don't know. Zhao's actually playing Wang Xinbo first up. While Judd Trump is playing on Yi, and I know we just talked about Judd there. We have a question about Judd from one of our listeners later. Stuart Bingham's got Matt Selt. First match at Pontins in Prestatyn. Lovely place to go for holiday, that, Phil. That was 23 years ago. I'm being sarcastic. That's bad. Ding Junhui against Sam Craigie. Chance for me to say and us to say that Sam was a cracking guest with us over the summer. So that episode from July is part of our extensive back catalogue. Ronnie O'Sullivan against Julian Boyko. O'Sullivan due to play. We are expecting, aren't we? And then some matches also on Wednesday that look pretty good that I scribbled down here. Jimmy Robertson's got Joe O'Connor. Ruyizza's playing Zeus Sir. Ali Carter, Stan Moody. But that's interesting because Stan's just beaten him, Phil, in Cheltenham. I was there that day, actually, and cracking late-night win for Stan. So chance for a bit of revenge straight away for Ali. Mark Allen, Oliver Lines. Ollie beat Allen when they last met, actually, a year ago at the Northern Ireland Open. Didn't remember that match, but looked back on it and noticed that with interest. Barry Hawkins has got David Grace, their first meeting for nearly a decade. Funny how that happens. Mark Selby, Mark Davis, they first played 18 years ago, and they'll meet as well. So those are good matches. I mean, it's just a really, really cracking tournament to look forward to. As I say, snooker over cornflakes, Phil, or the cereal of your choice. Lots of big guns there. Impossible to predict a winner, of course, of these events these days. But I'll really be keeping a close eye if we can get that 7 and 14. It's good variation, lots of stars, and that's what makes it so fascinating for us as mere bystanders.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's lots of good games there, and that Carter and Moody are actually playing again in Northern Ireland as well. So this is two
Oh,
of three in a little trilogy between those two. Stan's 1-0 up. We'll see how he gets on there. Yeah, there's been a couple of withdrawals. I don't know if we mentioned last time if it had come out that Marco Fu had he dislocated his elbow. I've not got it written here, but he posted that
yeah,
he's done himself quite a
that's a
serious
real
injury. He's
shame.
out for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause he's played some really great stuff this season, and he was going to play the winner of Kyron or Harris Tahir. So they go straight to the last 32, the winner of that one, because it's snapping round. I've just seen that Jamie Jones, I've not seen why actually, he's withdrawn after winning his qualifier. So Yuan Jun is already into the last 32, and he'll
Oh.
play Kyron or Harris to there. So a little bit messy,
Mm.
but can't be avoided these things when there's a gap between the qualifiers and the main stages. Yeah, a couple of other ones I'd noticed. Fan Zhengyi against Xi Jiahui, little Victoria's Academy derby there, and Wu Yizu against Zhu Se. There's a couple of nice ones for the Chinese fans there. Maybe 4 great players. So that'd be very interesting. And yeah, you mentioned, yeah, obviously this tournament was New York calendar last year. It was a bit early, wasn't it? It was the first sort of big ranking event, as far as I remember. It was in August.
Yes, it
So they'd
was.
had Shanghai, and Kine had gone and got whitewashed by Zhou Yong, hadn't he? It was his first game as world champion. And I was like, oh, bloody hell, he's not going to do well here. And then he won the next tournament and he beat Ronnie in the semis and Judd in the final. And then that set him on his way to just an incredible season as world champion. There was a real sliding doors moment in that, I think in the last 16, where he was 4-2 down to Jimmy Robertson, first to 5, and he just scraped over the line. And you just think, if you lose that match, the whole season could be very different. So we'll never know. But yeah, it was an amazing win for Kyron. And obviously, it's a different part of the season, though. So Zhao has already had however many tournaments, six tournaments he could have played. He's not played in them all. And he's not really pulled up any trees yet. Semi final in Shanghai, and not a great deal else, really. Somehow he's still top of the centuries chart, which shows his like absurd level of scoring because that one semi he's not been to a quarter final other than that, and he's still scored more centuries than everyone else, which is mental, really. Um, but yeah, so it's a different vibe in terms of we're in October now instead of August, but it could still be a huge moment for Zhao as world champion. He's never won anything at home in China as well, so um, he's still one of the favourites clearly as world champion. But the longer he goes without winning a tournament, I don't know how long he will be considered as one of the very hot favourites. He'll never be ruled out because we know how good he is, but it'll become more and more of a thing the longer he goes without another bit of silverware. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on this week.
It really will. And that's some great little lines from you there, reminding me that when I spoke to Jan Verhaas on Radio Snooker, again, Phil, but I spoke to him just in life as well. And he was sort of saying, about Xi'an, what a great trip it was. But you're right, it wasn't all, because I remember Jan saying that a few players and a few people connected with the tournament did go and see the Terracotta Warriors, but the weather was so extreme, it was so hot that it stopped a lot of people maybe going about and doing stuff because you just wanted to be inside air conditioned. But I was having a wee look at the weather for Xi'an, and there are some nice days, 25, 26 with sun, but there's quite a lot of drizzle and light winds. So Jan making the point that probably a few people will go this time and see that quite incredible attraction. Everyone that I've ever seen that's seen that says it really is spectacular. And as I said before, we obviously do UK events in terms of what they like to be at more. We're sometimes at them. Our listeners tend to be at them more. But people do go to the Chinese events because I see it. I see it on Reddit. I know people that do. So if you would like to contact us, if you are going to Xi'an or you are in Xi'an in the coming days, we would like to hear from you. Someone pointed out to me recently, we're not a massive correspondence podcast, certainly anymore. And that's sort of true, I think. But doesn't mean that we can't have correspondence, and we would like it. TalkingSnooker@yahoo.com or tweet us at Talking Snooker. So, Phil, maybe I'll let you have maybe another word about a tournament to come, and then we'll say we've done about half an hour. Not too bad. We've got a bit more news to come. So we're sticking to this unbelievable business of doing a little bit under an hour. It's this discipline we should have found 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good, it was a good addition to the tournament. Another big money. I think it's 177,000 prize. Very much worth winning. Yeah, lovely trophy, as I often point out, but it's a very good one. And one name I don't think we mentioned so far. He won his qualifier, beat Martin O'Donnell 5-4. Michael Saparchik,
Oh,
and he's won again since then, didn't he? He beat Spree in the international championship. I think, if I've remembered that correctly. I've not written that down, but yeah, it's just incredible. We obviously mentioned his name a
yeah,
few times,
yeah.
and how he is. It shouldn't be, shouldn't take the edge off how mad it is. He doesn't turn 15 until January, and he's winning pretty regularly on tour. So incredible stuff. He's playing Noppen uh, in the second round, his first round in Xi'an. Noppen sort of, I'm not sure what's going on with Noppen. He's fallen off a cliff a bit. There was a season or two ago, he was very much on the edge of, oh, he's going to be the next first time winner, or he's in that conversation. Certainly, he'd got to a final or two, hadn't he? And he was in and around semis a lot, but he's not been doing so well recently. So we'll see how Michael Sibarczyk gets on there. But yeah, just I'll not fail to stop being impressed by 14-year-olds winning on professional tour. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because that Liu Wenwei beating Luca earlier, I had it scribbled down. I remember the Championship League. I was going to say the 21-year-old, but I don't think I did. And that's probably because, 21-year-old doesn't feel very newsworthy when you've got 14-year-olds knocking about on tour. 21 is unbelievably young, of course, but there we go. Well, Phil, we're looking forward to the tournament. Enjoy it, everybody. And we've got plenty more to talk about before we say goodbye to you. And that's going to come in the second half of this episode. And we should say you are listening here to the Talking Snooker podcast with Phil Haigh and Nick Metcalf. Phil, the Australian Women's Open is taking place at the Mounties in Sydney. The tournament will come to a finish tomorrow, as we record, Tuesday, and we will reflect on the outcome and the tournament in general in our next episode. But I can tell you the quarterfinals have been played today, and Mick Nutcheret is among the players to reach the last four. So interesting tournament developing there on the women's tour. But quite a big line that emerged in recent days, Phil, is about the great Ronnie O'Sullivan, of course, the man who we're looking forward to seeing in Xi'an. He said he probably won't play the Masters in January. He said this on TalkSport. I probably won't play the Masters this year. I moved to Dubai. A lot of my work is in China, in the Middle East. So it made sense to be near. The jet lag was crucifying. It's not that easy to just get on a plane and come back to the UK. I think I'm just going to play the UK Championship, hopefully the Tour Championship if I've done enough, which I think I have because I did well in Saudi, and then the World Championship. It would be nice to win that one more time before I snap another cue. Classic funny way of saying it, but I mean, it's a shame. I mean, we get used to it. He didn't play it last time, did he? Obviously, when he's not playing big tournaments, it's a shame. But again, I won't mention the service again, but I did have a word with Chris Downer last year, and I quite like the way Chris said it. Actually, I said, "Oh, do you think Snooker will be fine with that body?" He was like, "Of course it will," and I agree with that. And we saw it last year. It was a brilliant Masters. We missed Ronnie. He would have electrified it. He would have graced it with his genius. But we enjoy these brilliant events without body. So in a sense, I'll say he's doing us a favour, but it maybe it's a good way to gradually build up to the era where we won't have Ronnie, eh?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what it's like. Maybe well, it will be different for sort of casual fans who only turn on the big ones, so they expect to see Ronnie all the time. But I suppose through the season, we're used to watching a lot of tournaments without Ronnie O'Sullivan in, so
Yeah,
it's not it's no great difference when it's one of the biggest ones. I suppose we've never had a World Championship without him
no,
since he started playing, obviously. So maybe that would feel weird, but we'll see. Yeah, it's hard to know. He only said probably he may well still play the Masters. He may well not. Wouldn't be surprised. Sometimes Ronnie says stuff, and you'll see people online saying, "Oh, if you believe that, you'll believe anything." But I mean, he may well not play it. It wouldn't be surprising if he doesn't play it. He didn't play it last year, and it was only a few years ago. Before that, was it 2020? He didn't play.
oh yeah,
So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, someone mentioned to me that being living in Dubai, you're only allowed a certain amount of days a year to be in the UK. So these guys that have moved out there might have to tailor what they can play. But I don't know. Judd's played in everything so far over here, so not sure what the rules on that are. Um, but yeah, we'll see. Ronnie's playing this week. Come in. He told me actually that he's going to play in the international, and then he's planning to play the Saudi event, which we're about to get to, and the UK.
that's quite a lot,
Um,
actually, isn't it? That's quite a lot of snooker coming up for Ronnie
yeah, that's
this,
the
this,
thing. I
this
think.
side of Christmas, anyway.
Yeah, and it's sort of what he did last year. I think. Before he sort of went off the rails a bit in the Championship League. So we'll see what the second half of the season has to bring. I think he was just talking about the UK events, wasn't he, when he was saying just the Tour Championship, the World Championship. So he
Yeah,
still might want to play the one in Hong Kong, the Grand Prix. So yeah, we'll see, wait and see. But he's definitely playing this week coming. So if he plays anything like he has done so far this season, I'm sure he'll do very well.
yeah, of course, he was unbelievable in his style. He didn't win it, but yeah, produced one of the greatest moments you could ever see on a snooker tape. With those two maximums in one session. Yeah, he's still got it, I think, Ronnie. And we should say, Phil, you mentioned that the Saudi invitation, of course, that's now come through in terms of dates being held from November 19th to 21st. And we're actually saying off the air, it's not a massive amount to say about that. We've obviously seen the tournament twice already. It felt like a bit more of a news line from the darts side. This is it's not a darts podcast, but it doesn't mean we can't mention that. They've got an event coming up there in Saudi Arabia in January. There's also various boxing matters as well. So it's very much sort of the matchroom link up with Saudi. But we will see that event from November 19th to 21st. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And then darts going there is a big deal, isn't it? I mean, I wonder will we? I mean, it's easy as people say, "Oh, we'll definitely see the World Championship there." I mean, we might not. I mean, it's obviously an amazing success at Ali Pali, but yeah, I mean, darts is so heavily linked to alcohol that I can see why people are making that point. But it'll be one to keep an eye on for sure. But yeah, Saudi coming up soon, and no doubt we'll talk about it, of course, preview and review when it comes on this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Darts is very interesting. How the atmosphere is going to be like in a dry country, and how the players are going to get on in a dry country. We'll see. Yeah, there is a lot of talk about them leaving Ali Pali, but I can't imagine they're moving the World Championship to Saudi. But yeah, fascinated to see how that gets on. And yeah, the Golden Ball event. I don't know. The first one was so newsworthy, and the last one sort of went a lot more under the radar. I thought it was it's not that memorable other than the lights going out that time.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he gets on. I mean, it's a great payday for the players, isn't it? And we'll get excited when someone looks like they might get on the golden ball. Hopefully, I would love to see someone get a shot at it. Yeah, that would be very exciting, to be fair, however daft the thing is. Um, but it would be very dramatic if someone's having the ball along the cushion for $1 million. So yeah, we'll be watching. Of course, we will.
There was one interesting line from the Matchroom documentary. That was a bad advert for snooker, as we've said since it aired. Um, Barry Hearn saying, "Oh, we're going to sell our soul for this, so let's try and get as much money as possible." Interesting turn of phrase.
Yeah,
You sort of get the feeling that the Hearn Senior, despite his flaws, and we've all got them, is a bit more. No, I don't know how to put it really.
a traditionalist.
A bit less, almost a bit less inclined to sort of pounds and pence than his son a little bit. He's more, there's not much in it, but you feel he'll sort of will be swayed a little bit more than Eddie will. Fair comment?
Yeah, well, I think he said that, didn't he? Barry said at one point that Eddie's a lot more financially ambitious than him, which is seems like a big claim, doesn't it? Because I wouldn't say Barry is not financially ambitious, but yeah, you did get the impression that uh, Eddie was more willing to do almost anything for more money and success and stuff. And I would think Barry's willing to do near enough anything. So yeah, that was an interesting dynamic. And again, the darts, because that was a line from Turkey Al Sheikh during it when he was saying, "I want to do crazy things. I want to do crazy things with the darts." No idea what that's going to be. It really could be anything. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, and in fairness, I'm not sure. Did Barry do an interview in recent days? I think I heard him, or might have done one. Maybe on Talk Sport. I'm not sure now, but or Sky. I think it was actually. I think it was on Sky. But they were sort of saying, well, you can do quite a lot of things with a dartboard, and I suppose in fairness, that they were sort of making the point. We already do that. Isn't this one the double first now for this tournament coming up?
Yeah.
And we've seen the quadruple things, haven't we? So it's not as if where snooker we haven't really. I mean, I know shootout we do that one thing with different rules slightly, but I suppose that's what
Mm.
interesting in sort of darts. It feels like it might be easier for them.
Yeah, get the old Yorkshire board out. It's got no trebles on. I don't think that would make it more exciting.
Wow, or bullseye, yeah. But the second mention in a row of bullseye with Jim Bowen on this podcast, Phil. That's one for the teenagers, going back a lot of years that now. Should we move on to correspondence?
Yep.
And we've got Brian McGovern, who is so close to being a friend of the podcast. It's infuriating for everybody. Must be annoying for him. It's annoying for us. Hi, Nick and Phil. I hope you're both doing well. I write this as Neil Robertson just made his 1000th century. Given his ranking, why wasn't his match held over to the venue? It would have given more people a chance to see the century in Xi'an. Hoping both of you got to read Dave Hendon's book. I'm enjoying it. It's excellent stuff. Indeed, we did. It is excellent stuff, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about Dave Hendon later on. Keep up the good work. Not long until I head to Belfast. Best wishes, Brian. Well, my feeling on that is that obviously they make the decision of the match is held over already. I just don't think you can uproot everything, including player schedules. Flights may have been already booked. I'm sure they probably were, because a player might make a century. He might not have made a century. It was only first to six. He made one in the match. Okay, he might not have done. It wasn't an absolute given. So, yeah, I just don't think, sport is manipulated. Actually, let's be clear. A lot of it's manipulated. I mean, the thing about I don't know why it's just come to my mind, Phil. The fixture computer. Well, that Premier League fixture computer is not as random as people think. They make sure they have big games here and there
Oh,
and certain teams. It's the least random computer ever. That one. So sport is manipulated and dates are, but to an extent. And I just think with this late notice, they'd already decided the matches. I think to say, oh no, God, Neil might make the 1000 now. I mean, had Neil been the very, very first one, there may have been a case for it, but it's the fourth now, isn't it? It's not as newsworthy. So I get what you're saying, Brian. It did feel like almost inevitable, didn't it, when we saw the pattern of Neil, what he was up to. Oh, he's got this event, that event. It'll probably be in between. The law of sod, it happened, but you know, shall I give it another airing for that ludicrous, loathsome modern phrase? It is what it is.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they made it because I mean the British Open finished just before those qualifiers started, isn't it? So the decision when the qualifier was played was made before the end of that. Neil Keasley won the British Open and made it there. Um, so yeah, I think it was a bit too late to change things around. It's all down to the promoter who wants those games held over because it does change. Sometimes it's the top 6 or 8 on the rankings. I think it was just Judd and Ronnie and a number of Chinese players, and then the players who were playing the wild cards. Um, so Kyron and Neil ranked 2 and 3, aren't they? And they didn't get held over. So it's just up to the promoter. So yeah, they didn't see that and use that as a reason to bring him over. But yeah, a shame, but not the end of the world. And yeah, obviously have Dave's book. It is excellent. Agreed. Um, should we do that now? Should we talk about that now? About give Dave his happy birthday?
We could do absolutely no reason. We're mavericks, you know that. So we had it down in any other business, but why not do that? I mean, tell us about your night. I mean, you went to Sheffield Central Library. You were telling me off the air, you know how what a good evening it was, and that's to talk about Dave's book on the history of snooker, Pots of Gold, and also, of course, it is Dave's 10-year anniversary of his podcast. So it sounds like a real success. A few friends with the podcast there, and a good evening all round.
It was, yeah, it was really good. Yeah, really nice place. I don't think I'd ever been in Sheffield Central Library. It might have been a school trip that I'd
That's a
forgotten about. But
disgrace.
yeah, I mean, I've been in libraries
Joking.
in Sheffield, but not that one. But yeah, it's lovely. Great place. And yeah, I mean, we had no idea how many people would come in. I mean, it might, and we envisaged sort of 4 or 5 people, but it's hard to tell. 40 or 50 people, though, I reckon. So that was nice. And yeah, just had a long chat through the book and the history of snooker. Spoke to a load of people. Went to the graduate afterwards, which was lovely. So yeah, thanks to anyone who's listening who came along. Made it a very worthwhile experience. Watched Dave signed a load of books, so I think it all went well. So yeah, success.
The Wattersons there, I hear. So father and son.
Yeah,
So that's friends of our podcast, of course,
yeah.
and a huge snooker people. And yeah, I saw some, great feedback. So that's terrific. And we got to say, haven't we, Phil, that I know we mentioned it when we did our summer special, which we recorded with Dave, but we really should say, again, congratulations on reaching a 10-year anniversary with the podcast. I was thinking a lot of things in life generally, or even connected with snooker, we sort of say congratulations about these things, but we have no idea what that entails, with players, for example. But we do with this, because we've done half of what Dave's done time-wise, and we think that's great. But to do 10 years, and of course, it's been different sort of guises, iterations, really. A lot of the player interviews early on, a lot of the Michael McMullen time, which a lot of people rightly associate with the pandemic. There are certain audio memories and certain visual memories I think will always be connected, whether it's Gary Lineker in the kitchen, in his kitchen instead of match of the day or whatever it was. There are various funny things that happened at that time that, we often laugh, people like me in my family and friends, that ludicrous business where we started doing quizzes for a while. I mean, I soon ducked out of those. You remember those weekly? Let's all get
Yeah.
together and do like.
They were great for a bit, and then I think everyone got sick of them at the same time, and they just stopped.
There was definitely a national "this is stopping" moment, yeah. But day with Michael, and then that was very pandemic, and of course, more and more recent years, it's been sort of correspondence based and a lot of effort. So it's a hell of an effort. I mean, just to do it, what a commitment! So I know that's hats off to Dave. I know that's a view that will be shared by snooker fans here, there, and everywhere. Phil.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, superb. It takes, yeah, just turning up and doing it is harder than it seems when you're really busy. So yeah, no, superb. It's must listen podcasting every week. And I just listened to the sort of special he did for the 10th anniversary, and lots of lovely messages from listeners about what it's meant to them over the years. Because but yeah, no, it does when you listen to it every week, it becomes part of your routine and part of life. So. Yeah, no, congratulations, Dave. Here's to 10 more and 10 more onto that.
Indeed. No, it's a great effort. And well, we've got news about a new TV channel coming first, but we should first do John Anderson, shouldn't we? You sent us a nice bit of correspondence in.
Yeah, here we go. Hello, Phil and Nick. Oh, a rare Phil and Nick there. I really enjoyed attending the British Open. Cheltenham is a top venue now. There's always a really nice vibe at tournaments there. I'm making my Masters debut in January. Really excited. But from what I've heard on your podcast and elsewhere, it isn't the most comfortable arena for fans. Question for you guys. Do you think Judd Trump spending more time away from the UK might be affecting his form? It's nearly a year now since he last won a trophy. Best wishes to you both, John. Well, the Masters, yeah, the seat, yeah, you get sort of mixed reviews on the seats. I think if you're certainly a tall person, not great.
They're definitely not great, no. I was going to make the point. I don't know how tall you are. Yeah, no, they're not great. But as others have pointed out, I mean, some people find discomfort harder than others, if you get my drift. Some people are liable to put up with things more. It's a brilliant event to be at, so you do put up with it. But yeah, it's very much to the benefit of snooker, actually. They pack more and more in. It just seems like they creep up the attendance every year and the capacity. That's great. But it definitely means, in the same way that airlines are now, when you go on aeroplanes now, it's extraordinary. You just think this is less and less space for me, and it's a bit like that at the Mars. It's not the most comfortable, but it's an incredible atmosphere. It's a wonderful event. It's one of our best events. We were saying that documentary. Why didn't they just stay on Ali Pali for the Masters? Yeah. It couldn't be a better advert. I've mentioned this on the air a few times. I don't necessarily agree with this. I would still say Crucible, but I've had good snooker people say to me that if they were introducing someone to snooker for the first time, they'd take them to that event. It's a very valid case. It's huge crowds, famous arena, So what I suppose what I'm saying in quite a waffly way, as is my want, Phil, is you put up with a slightly inconvenient thing, especially if you're tall, with the seats for what is just a great event in sport. Never mind snooker, a great event in sport.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe if you could take your own cushion, some people do that, don't they, when they've got those kind of seats? Helps out. But yeah, and on Judd, I've no idea if that's why. I mean, he's sort of spending his time between Dubai and Hong Kong quite a lot, and then back here sometimes. But I mean, what I've heard about where they play in Dubai is very, very good practice facility. I'm sure he's still practicing hard. I don't know why he's had a dry spell by his very, very high standards. I mean, it is a very short dry spell, really, by anyone else's standards. He's the reigning UK champion. He won the Saudi last year. He won Shanghai last year. He got to two or three other finals, didn't he? He lost to Kyron in a couple of them, or all three of them, as far as I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. One thing I would say I noticed about Judd is I don't know if he's done this on purpose. Probably. Um, when he got beat at the World Championship in the semi-finals to Mark Williams, and someone said to him afterwards, I can't remember who it was doing the interview, said disappointing, and he went, "No, no, I'm not disappointed." And he sort of spoke like that when everyone asked him about his form this season. He's like, "No, I've been playing well. It's fine. Been playing well." I don't know if he's purposefully doing a bit of mind games with himself about um, taking the pressure off a bit. Um, and again, I've got no idea whether that's got anything to do with whether he's winning tournaments or not. But I don't think I've heard him speak quite like that before, as he has done in recent months. I don't know if you noticed that in Sheffield. He was very, very measured to the point of, are you purposely being measured here?
Yeah. No, now you put that all together and the way you describe it, I do know exactly what you mean. You wonder if has a tiny bit of hunger been lost. I've got your voice in my head from talking about previous things as we put narratives on. I mean, I can just imagine that were we doing really well, we'd be sort of saying, "Oh, that's because he's getting away from it more. He's getting time to relax in Dubai in the sunshine." Of course, he's not. So we're like, "Oh, it's all that travel." I mean, he's pretty young. He's pretty young, Judd. Really, he's very young, really. I mean, yeah. Listen, jet lag's not a joke. I mean, Ronnie and Neil are older, but they've mentioned it recently. Whatever age you are, jet lag is a factor. Traveling on aeroplanes isn't much fun. So it could be he's taking his eye off it to very, very slight extent, and I guess very, very slight extents, as we often say, can make a difference in this sport. But I would say that, that nearly all the top stars, and I would say maybe apart from Ronnie, but I think including Ronnie, they have spells where they don't win stuff. And that 18-month, 2 years thing is very regular. And I was thinking, if Judd goes to 18 months, that'll pretty much take us to the next World Championship. And I wouldn't be absolutely amazed if he doesn't win anything before the World Championship. But probably put money on that won't be the case. I would say that would be unlikely to be the case with him. But if it is, it's 18 months, which Selby's gone. Robertson's gone. They've all, Murphy's certainly got it. They've all done that, really. So it doesn't mean that Judd doesn't want to be part of that. He wants to keep winning and winning and winning. But, Anthony Hamilton, who I think was the very first player guest we have ever had on here, Phil, going back a few years now, when the Judd was in the middle of his unbelievable purple patch. And whatever season it was, he was like, well, that's not going to carry on. Very wise from Anthony. And it's a bit like that generally. Judd can't keep winning loads and loads of trophies season after season because no one can. And he's a classic victim of his own success. We judge him by, and I'm guilty of it, we judge him by, I know I'm guilty of that thing about whether he's achieved greatness by not winning 2 world championships. I'm as guilty as the next person. I think we should judge our brilliant superstars in sport because that's part of being a sports fan and a sports watcher and a sports writer and broadcaster. But listen, the guy's unbelievable. What he's done, there's no question about it. I'm sure he'll win soon. Whether it's a bit of travel, yeah, it might be. He's got various other big interests in life, But again, it's a bit of an unanswerable thing. But it's that classic thing that the next time that Judd wins a tournament will be the least surprising thing ever, won't it?
Yeah.
When he wins it, it'll be like, there won't be even a scintilla of surprise whether it happens, in the next few weeks or at the UK or the Masters or in February or the next World Championship when he gets that second one we all think he would clearly merit. He's just, yeah. Well, I'm doing quite a lot of waffling, Phil, but I hope some of that made some sense. And yeah, we thank you, John, for that. And a lot of people going to events and looking forward to it so much, aren't they? That's the great thing that comes from that as well. They can't wait. And we're coming to that part of the season now. As I say, if you're going to events in China, let us know. Some of you do. But certainly in terms of the UK, loads of people excited about Belfast. I mean, Brian mentioned that's coming up. And just, yeah, really, really top events. So we're into a sort of purple patch here of just brilliant events. And Xi'an's coming up. Should we move on to any other business? I think we should. You can hear Neil Robertson react to his 1000th century on Radio Snooker. Well, my latest Sporting Life column, if you haven't seen it yet, is on that website on Maximums, Murphy and Matchroom, all the M's. And to say I have a new column for you next week. That's ahead of the Northern Ireland Open, that special tournament coming up. And well, Phil, no doubt you'll be extremely busy with events going out. A lot of snooker watching. And as I say, this is when you get into the autumn, it's getting dark about 6 o'clock now. Of course, it just feels like smashing time for the game, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and this is a great tournament coming up in Jan. Yeah, if you haven't caught the sort of World Snooker Tour social media, they've done a lot of from the opening ceremony and the opening dinner and stuff that they do, and it's quite interesting seeing that. Because when players sort of talk down a bit, some tournaments over here, I think that helps to sort of instruct you as to why turning up to leisure centres with your queue, walking past the swimming lessons is so different from some of these events they go to elsewhere, where they're treated to these in almost sort of shows and stuff when they turn up and they're made to feel very, very special. So it's all part of what we often don't see, but there are quite a lot of clips and stuff from social media. So it's interesting to watch that. But yeah, and looking forward to the big time snooker getting going again. This part of the calendar is so busy when you don't have a big event on TV. A week off feels like a long time, but we're back on Tuesday morning.
Absolutely, we really are. Yeah, getting close to our 5th birthday, Phil. That coming next month, and we made our first tentative plans, didn't we? Just before we started recording about the Tony Meo Trophy, that famous match coming up. We really look forward to it, don't we? In probably looking at during the UK in York, aren't we? That's the destination for this year's event. But I've got a couple of other bits I want to mention. I know you sometimes do. I've just really got into Hacks. I don't know if you know it. I've just found out about it recently. Absolutely brilliant show, a comedy.
Not seen it.
Starring Gene Smart as fictional Las Vegas comedian Deborah Vance. I absolutely love it. I watch it morning, noon, and night, catching up with all the old seasons. Just before I came on the air, I was listening to Alan Fluff Freeman, and that's not banter, it's true. That's one for the teenagers. And that's because, Phil, Pick of the Pops is 70 years old. Happy birthday to a great radio institution. You know, it was first broadcast on the Light programme in 1955, and there's some great Pick of the Pops archive material now, including the story of the show on BBC Sounds. I went to Arsenal against West Ham on Saturday with my lovely 10-year-old nephew, Benji. I've got to say, Arsenal for the title for me, Phil. I was that way inclined in August, and I'm sticking to it. But I'll tell you what, Benji was showing me some YouTube videos that he puts up and how I just put this is what I do, Uncle Nick. I put this photo in and this video in. I thought, bloody hell, it's just second nature for them. I mean, we're lucky if we remember to press record, aren't we? I mean, I really enjoyed our Saturday afternoon. It was absolutely smashing. Unbelievable claim from me, by the way, Phil. I'm going around the grounds and around the country this season. I bet you left the Piccadilly line yet. I'm like West Ham. They didn't leave London until November last season. I'm pretty much the same. But I might venture out the capital someday. Who knows? And Phil, I'm afraid we're heading to another international break now in football. But good news for snooker. The Xi'an Grand Prix coming up. And it's live here in the UK, isn't it, on TNT Sports and Discovery Plus for broadcasting arrangements where you are, Phil. People can go come to WST. I'm off to go and throw these headphones into the bin. Enjoy the rest of the day. Yeah, we've got through another one. We'll be back next week, and we'll be talking about. Well, we'll have to do it after Monday, I guess, won't we? Next Monday, because we want to get the end of the tournament in. We'll also find out about the winner of that big women's tournament in Australia, in Sydney, and no doubt catch up with some other matters as well. One thing we didn't mention, and that's because the order was thrown around, and that's what I'm blaming. A new snooker channel, Phil. It is Pluto Snooker 900. And it's available on Pluto TV. That'll be the new home of the Snooker 900. This is the sort of variation of the shootout that we see, and it's a lot of amateur players playing in that. So a big chance for them to win some money. But it's the superstars, the legends, as they're calling it, Legends Week, launching the new channel this week, including Jimmy White. So we await that. More chance to watch snooker. I understand it's pretty easy to download. So. Yeah, and we're going to see lots of the great stars from yesteryear and a lot of amateur snooker. And we never had that before, Phil. You know, a snooker only, TV. We've got snooker on the radio, of course, thanks to me. Now snooker on the telly, only one channel all the time.
Yeah, it's got so it's live snooker sort of Monday to Wednesday at 2 slots, isn't it? And then the rest of the time it's showing all matches, and it's got Renee O'Sullivan's coaching series, I suppose you'd call it, on there. So yeah, I think it's starting right now as we record. So we'll go and watch it. I think it's starting with Ken against Jimmy. So yeah, it's not just one frame of the 900 as well. It's sort of best of 7 900 as well, which is interesting. I've not really seen that before. So yeah, no, looking forward to that. Just nice to have more options to watch, isn't it? So we'll see how it goes.
Indeed, and I salute you, sir. I think we've reached just about the hour mark, and great to see you. And see you next time. Enjoy the tournament in Xi'an. Lots of great snooker, all the stars. Northern Ireland coming soon, so our cup runneth over. And I look forward to your company next time, Phil.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll speak to you very soon.
All the best to you then. TalkingSnooker@yahoo.com or tweet us at Talking Snooker. For now, from your old friends Phil Haig and Nick Metcalf. Cheerio.